Are you looking to learn Python but don't know where to start? Then don't worry, in this video we will go over the steps you can follow to be able to learn Python effectively. So well done on choosing to learn Python. It is a very popular, versatile and powerful programming language that you can use in almost any field, like web development, machine learning, data science and much more. But do you know what makes Python so popular? Aside of being a great programming language to be used in many fields and has a large community, but also having a very easy and comprehensive syntax, making it beginner friendly to start with. So if you are a beginner at programming, Python is a great choice. To start, set up your goals with Python. Like, why do you want to learn Python? Is it because you want to start with programming, or you want to get into data science, or start machine learning? Once you have your goals aside, you need to install Python on your machine. You can download it from Python official website. Also, you'll be needing a text editor or an IDE. This is where you'll spend your time writing, running, and debugging Python code. Once the setup is completely finished, it is time to start your learning phase. You will learn the most basic concept in programming, which is variables. In programming, variables stores data, and there are different types of data. In most programming languages, there is 5 common types you'll encounter. Starting with integers, they represent whole numbers that can be positive or negative. We have float, also called double in other programming languages, and it simply refers to numbers with decimal point. We have booleans, which can be true or false. We have strings, which represents plain text like hello world. There's also char, which represents a single letter, but we don't have it in Python. So variables in Python can store data. For example, we can create a variable by simply naming it anything and using the equal sign, which represents the assignment operator used to add data inside a variable. So let us add a string like hello world. Next, you need to know that in Python there is some pre-built functions you can use, and think of functions as a block containing lines of code that does something. The most common function you'll use in Python is the print function, which is used to display something on the console. This is a pre-built function, and you don't see the code behind the print function because it is provided to you. Also, each data type has its own function to use upon. Like with a string, you can use the predefined function called upper to turn the string to uppercase. With a floating point number, you can use the round function to round the number to the closest integer. The most common thing to do in programming is to perform some kind of calculation on numbers. You can add numbers together in Python, as well as subtract, multiply, and divide. You can also find the remainder of a division by using the modulus operator, which is a percent sign. However, when you use the plus operator with strings, what it will do is concatenate those two strings together. So if you say hello plus world, you will get hello world. Also, you will learn about comparison operators. They are used to compare two data types. We can use the equality operator represented with 2 equal sign to test if those two numbers are equal. This expression will return either true or false. We also have the inequality operator, greater than sign, less than sign, and much more. Another important operators you'll learn about is logical operators. They are and, or, and not. With the and operator, both expressions should be true in order to get true. With or, it is enough to have only one expression to be true in order to get true. And the not operator simply switches true to false and vice versa. Now let's dive deeper into Python. You'll learn other advanced data types like lists, which is a data type that can store multiple data. Tuples, which is same as list but it can't be modified once created. Dictionaries, stored key value pairs, and sets are data types that can only store unique values. We spoke about predefined functions, but sometimes you need to take them from libraries. These libraries contain functions that you can use. For example, the power function in the math library. You'll import the math library, and from that library you can use the power function by calling it, or simply typing its name. There is predefined functions, but how can you create your own functions? In Python, you will use the def keyword and provide a name for that function. This function can take parameters, which are variables that the function can work on. Inside this function, you can write code. This will make this function do something. Once created, this function can be called as much as you want. And if you defined a function with parameters, then you need to give it arguments or input, just like what we did with the power function earlier. Also, it is common in Python to receive input from the user and work with this input. Say we're building a small calculator program. You can tell the user to give you 2 numbers, and you can return the sum of those 2 numbers by adding them together. Also, it is very useful to learn control flow or if and else statements, which they are used to determine the flow of the program. In this calculator program, you ask the user to give you 2 numbers as well as choose which arithmetic operator they want. Then you can determine what the user wants by evaluating the input and putting it inside an if and else block. As you can see, we are using comparison operators to be able to know what the user gave as an arithmetic operator. So if the user chose a plus operator, this expression will evaluate true and we will add those two numbers. Otherwise, if the user chose a minus operator, we will subtract those two numbers. And if all conditions evaluated false, then we will jump to the else statement. Sometimes in programming, you want to be able to execute a certain block of code multiple times. This is where you will use loops. The two most common loops are for loop and while loop. Any block of code inside the for loop can be repeated based on the range defined. It says range 10. That means I will start with 0 and end with 9. But most of the time, we use for loops to iterate over a sequence, like a list or a tuple. We can print the values of the sequence, do some calculations on them, and much more. A while loop is different. It is required to have a so-called counter. It will act as the one that will help us stop the loop. And to stop the loop, we need to provide a logical condition inside the while loop. Like as long as the counter is less than 5, I want to print the value of counter. And then I want to add 1 to my counter at each iteration to make sure at some point it will become 5 and the loop is finished, and we will avoid something called an infinite loop. With the knowledge you have, you can learn object-oriented programming, which is a very popular programming paradigm. It involves classes and objects, where you can create real-world entities and add them into your program. You can also take advantage of the concepts of object-oriented programming like encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. They might sound weird for now, but when you learn them, they'll be very easy. Because you are now more knowledgeable in Python, go ahead and explore Python libraries. Learning libraries like tkinter provides you with tools to use for building desktop applications. There's also Pygame to make games in Python, there's matplotlib to display graphs, you can learn Tensorflow for machine learning, and Django for web development. Now don't forget that the knowledge you obtain must be put into work. You must solve exercises and make your brain work and solve problems. This will improve your way of thinking and make you a better programmer. You can visit LeetCode, a popular website, to find exercises and problems to solve. Also, build projects. This will help you challenge yourself and improve. Like if you learn tkinter, you can put your skills to work and build a small calculator app. Don't neglect practice, because it is useless to learn without applying. Also, keep in mind that there is always new stuff to learn. So after Python, don't just stop with what you know. Learn other programming languages or other Python libraries and keep expanding your knowledge. This is how you grow as a programmer. Now here's some resources you can use to be able to start learning Python. The best resource out there is YouTube. You can check out channels like freecodecamp.org and learn Python there. You can also check out my Python tutorial playlist as well as my Python object-oriented tutorial playlist. They can be found in the description below. Also, you can visit websites like freecodecamp.org, Codecademy, W3 Schools, and other coding websites to be able to learn code. You can go on Udemy, Skillshare, or Codemy and buy from one of these platforms a Python course. And this is it for this video. Great choice on choosing to learn Python. It is a great language to start with. I also would love to know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. I invite you to click on one of these end screens that will appear right now, and I hope to see you in one of these videos.